I'm a clown.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't like me when I was a regular clown.
Hi, I'm Gaby.
And I'm Catwise, the dancing clown.
And we're the
Ghouls next door.
Cool. Oh, that's nice. Coming to you live from the sewers. It's your Ghouls next door.
Yeah.
During the spooky month. It's the end of the spooky month, so it's pretty scary.
Yep, this is now my costume.
And, for a spooky month, being our 3-year anniversary, we're rounding it out by revisiting a film that we
Clowns
covered
again.
In our first ever episode.
That was erased from the internet like Georgie's arm.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I shouldn't have an arm.
This is before. It's fine.
Yeah,
We're just friends.
I'm playing
I got your boat. I got your boat. You want it back? I bite your hand off. What you want?
Oh no. So we're going to be talking about It Chapter 1 from 2017, which is the beginning of the Ghouls. We talked about clowns. We're revisiting it because that episode is trash, and it's removed from the internet, as far as I can tell. And if you have it and you've listened to it, just pretend like you didn't. And because it was a learning experience. But one of the parts that I really enjoyed about that episode was our analysis of It Chapter 1, which is why I didn't want it to go away. I wanted us to do it again and even more intentional, because I think, for me anyway, when we were doing that, that was my part, right? Was to do the film analysis, and I feel like I really hit what I wanted to do with the Ghouls forever from that episode. Because it was like, we kind of really got to the nitty gritty of what it was. And that was before I had read the book too. So it was purely just like what I was intending or getting from the film, and kind of diving into what it was really telling me. And I was like, wow, okay, film means something else. Like,
yeah, I like this. I like this whole jam that we're doing.
Yeah. And so, in that episode, we talk about why clowns are scary.
The psychology behind it. The fake face. Especially if your clown face is on top of a mask.
Yeah.
You don't know what emotion I'm feeling, audience.
Yeah.
I could be angry. Happy.
Yeah.
You can do a lot with your eyes, but it's fine.
Smiles.
It's the false face.
Yeah.
Is what makes clowns scary. Is that they're ha 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 ha, but you can see the sadness in their eyes, and then you know it's a lie and it's sad.
Oh. It's chlorophobia, right? Because that's what clown from Eli Roth's clown film.
And we got it the first time. We just wouldn't stop laughing and interrupting each other.
Yeah.
If we just didn't do that, it would have been an okay episode. Because, the information was good.
Parts of it were.
Yeah.
There's other parts that was trash. But it was like, I think we figured out what we wanted to do while doing other stuff. And I totally understand if people listen to that episode didn't want to listen to us anymore. But if you're still here, this is episode 123, right? This is 3 years of doing the Ghouls. This is 3 years of analyzing horror film and other media. And if you love it, please give us a like and a subscribe on YouTube and iTunes. Let us know what you like about it. Let us know what you hope for us to cover in the future. We are so accessible. We are, anyone talks to us, we're like, oh my God, we exist. And you know my mom.
Yeah, we want to be best friends. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't, but we do.
Yeah.
Introvert, extrovert time.
Yeah, yeah. Distant best friends. And so, we're going to dive into It Chapter 1, kind of giving it its due. And I have read the book, and so I have more insight and I did
Bum,
before.
bum, bum.
And it is a good film. Like, we did a watch party. If you were there, thank you for joining us. If you weren't, just kind of keep an eye out. We will have watch parties in the future. It's super fun. You can be there. You get to be the loud person in a movie theater with us who's talking trash and also, like, having epiphanies and also being emotional,
talking trash, talking facts.
Yeah, all in the chat, while also watching a really great film or a really awful film. We haven't figured it out, so we'll watch it. But this one is good. I think it's definitely a coming of age film. I would say there are jump scares and there are parts of it that are scary for sure, and I'd say even more frightening than the TV miniseries.
Yeah.
But I do think it's kind of like it's a safe horror. Like, I think that people who may not really like horror would still really like watching this.
Yeah, it's definitely... So the first time I watched it, my face went numb. I was having a whole situation. I was way more scared of it than I expected to be. To the point I viscerally remember this. We were walking home from the movie theater, and we kept looking down alleys. And it was like, oh, someone's going to be down there. And I don't want to know. I don't want to look at it. It was daytime, like, of all times. But I just, like, remember it being scary enough that me, who's seen horror movies a bunch, was still scared and had a good time. But not so scary that, like, nobody... Like, you'd be scaring your kids. Like, kids could watch this. Like, early teens.
Yeah.
Could be watching this and having a good time.
I think so. And I think, like, you know, they would get it on the surface level, right? And as an adult, when you're watching it, you're like, oh, I see what this is really about. And that's trauma. So, Chapter 1 from 2017 is about, in the summer of 1989, a group of bullied kids band together to destroy a shape-shifting monster, which disguises itself as a clown and preys on the children of Derry, their small Maine town. And so... Yeah, it does disguise itself as a clown. One thing, so in our first episode, we compared it to the TV miniseries, where the original Pennywise played by Tim Curry. And we, you know, like, that's a classic. And there is an appreciation for Tim Curry's Pennywise. Like, that, but what we found was, like, he's a different Pennywise.
Yeah.
He was, like...
kind of hokey.
Yeah, like, hey, kid, get over here.
Aren't you going to say hello? Oh, come on, bucko.
I'm a clown.
Yeah.
You didn't like me when I was a regular clown.
Yeah.
But you'll like me now.
Yeah, and
when I
like,
murder you.
This clown, like this Pennywise, is so scary, but also like unique. He's his own thing. He is totally separate from that Pennywise that we had seen in the 90s.
Hiya, Georgie. A nice boat. Do you want it back?
And it's played by Bill Skarsgård, who blew away his audition. He can do the weird eye thing just by himself, so that was great. I do remember a conversation we had in the first episode was that, you know, people were saying that he's hot, and so everyone was like, oh my god, now we're going to be attracted to Pennywise, but you're not, because he doesn't look like him at all.
Also, no.
And he is so much more of like a monster. Like, he definitely comes across more as like a demon than just a clown.
Yeah, he definitely seems like he's got more going on than just being a regular clown. He is like, you can see in his eyes he's not a normal guy.
Yeah.
You know, you see that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Instantly. Like, he the whole eye thing, like you're saying, like, he totally just, like, drifts his one eye off. You see a total, like, snarl. You see,
he
like...
drools.
Yeah, you see, like, this really, like, like, change.
Yeah.
And it's, like, definitely very visceral. Cringy.
It's unsettling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unsettling because you know something's wrong. Like, at first, like, when we first see him in Weird Georgie and he looks in there, it's like, in the original, Georgie just is gone. Like, he has that interaction and then he's in the sewer.
Yeah.
In this, it's drawn out. So, right, like, we have this conversation and he's very much like, you know, I can't talk to strangers. And he says, well, I'm Pennywise. Pennywise, Georgie. Georgie, Pennywise. Now we know each other. And that was one of the things that, like, stuck out to me because what this film is. It's not really about Pennywise. Pennywise is just the manifestation of what these kids are experiencing. And really what that scene is to me, when that line happens, that exchange, that is the quintessential tale of a kid being abducted. Like how, like we tell our kids, like, don't talk to strangers, you don't take candy from strangers, you don't help a stranger find their dog, right? Like those classic things. And at that time, they didn't have those. There was no kid on the back of the milk carton until the 80s.
Yeah.
No, this is before the 80s.
This is before the 80s. Just kidding. I'm wrong.
Right? No, you're right. 1989.
I'm doing stuff. I'm right and I'm wrong.
1989. No, you're right.
Nice.
But so in the 80s, that's when we got the milk carton kid. And it's the book that's not in the 80s. So I was like, wait a second. The milk carton kid happened in there. And I'm so mad that I forgot his name, because I do know the first milk carton kid, and that story is really sad. But it was like a time where kids just roamed around and they were free, and there was really no concept of stranger danger, very minimal, right? It was like, that's why he says, like, I'm not allowed to hang out with strangers and talk to strangers. And it's that classic, here's my name. We're not strangers
anymore. Yeah.
Now we're friends. Come on. I have all the things. I have candy. I have popcorn. I'm fun. And then there's that, and Georgie is like laughing with him and he's having a good time. And then there's that shift where he kind of like disconnects and he like, it's not just that his face just stops. And he starts drooling because he's no longer controlling it. And Georgie's like, I know that's not good.
I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
And as kids, it's like we, are taught, like, even when you're like in those uncomfortable positions, like how many times are you told to like still like be around people that you're not comfortable with?
Yeah.
Like that the adults are like, instead of being vocal about what you're feeling and being like, I do not like this, I am going to remove myself. Like especially then they weren't, And so then we see him get taken and his arm, we see that he loses his arm and then there's blood and he's just gone. And I think like that's what Bill is dealing with. Bill is dealing with the fact that his younger brother was abducted. Most likely by a sexual predator, and he is dead. Yeah. There's like, especially if it's been like a year or whatever, like it takes like 2 days and it's probably done because they don't keep him around. And all those other conspiracy theories that exist out there. But so I think that's what Bill's kind of trauma is. Yeah,
he's dealing with like the loss of his close brother, and like no one will talk about it. His dad, his mom won't talk about it. It's kind of like the thing at school, like no one really mentions it.
And I think that's like a telltale like thing that happens with parents who lose a child, regardless of how it is. If they have another kid, that one ends up neglected because for a lot of reasons, like even if it's subconscious, like a part of them, one is like they feel like a failed parent and they kind of shut down. A lot of marriages suffer because of something like that, like a death of a kid. But then also there's like this part of you that feels like because you failed that kid, like you can't give this kid better. Because you're going to feel bad like you're letting that other one down, which is like, that's not true. And your other kid would be like, please take care of my sibling. What are you talking about? But like, that's a subconscious thing where you're just like, I don't want to do that. But they shut down and they're a human. Right?
Yeah, there's like a lot of grief associated. Just like, and everyone processes grief differently. But there's also like that element of, you don't want to move on too much. You don't want to move on too little.
Yeah.
Trying to really find the healthy, still remembering them. Because a kid, you think like your goal as a human is to leave something behind.
Yeah.
You're supposed to create a legacy.
Yeah.
A child has lived for such a short period of time that the only people that will really remember that child are the parents. And the like close-knit family. And that's like a really big burden. Like, because, like then you feel like more... like you need to continue that child, like the memory of that child. And then you also have the ones who on the inverse just tried, like they can't talk about it because it's too painful. Fantasizing that they're okay or they're out there as Bill tries to do, or like try to like find him. It's too painful. Like you just have to accept it. How can we move on if it's still this hope
Yeah.
lingering.
Yeah, and I think like we see the parents very little, and we really only ever see the dad when he's just like he's just so like rough with him, and it's just like he is gone.
He doesn't want the mom to see.
Yeah,
and you don't really ever see the mom.
No, I think in the book at least she is often like playing the piano, and she only plays sad songs, and you get to see more of the parents. Obviously, you get to see a lot more because it's a book and it's very long, and it is a fever dream for sure. And yeah, I think what's interesting about the film is that we don't really see them beforehand, but we can tell that like Bill as the older brother, it was on him to kind of like watch and take care of Georgie, and like to the point where like he's sick in bed. And, like, you know, fixes up his, like, boat and, like, lets him do it and tells him, you know, no, it's a girl, you call her she. And that's I think what's great about this remake of it is that whenever he sees Pennywise, there's a manifestation of Georgie. And that's the horror, is that Georgie is controlled.
Clear parallel, yeah.
Yeah. And it's always that Georgie is somehow controlled by this monster, right? And then we have the other kids who are also going through some stuff. We have Bev, who is back. We covered her earlier this month, the actress, Sophia Lilith. And she's phenomenal. Honestly, like,
she's younger here, too. This. Like, ooh, just such a convincing and, like, powerful performance. Outsells the whole... all the kid actors do a fantastic job, but she really... Yeah. She does fantastic.
Yeah, and she's like the best Bev that there is. Like, I don't even remember what the other... I remember what she looks like. I remember what TV miniseries Bev looks like, but this Bev, like, that's what I think of now. And I think, like, when I was reading the book, what was interesting for me was her relationship with her father, because we get to see inside Bev, right? Like, we get to hear her. You do hear, like, her dad is, like, actually, like, abusive to her. Like, not sexually abusive, but, like, he's uncomfortable and he seems like he's going to get there. But he's, like, physically abusive to her and he hurts her. Yeah. And he'll hurt her, and then he's one of those people who's just like, look what you made me do. Like, I don't want to do this to you. You do this. And I love you so much. And the mom is there, and there's all this. And she kind of rationalizes with herself in, like, I know he loves me. I love my dad. I love him. Like, he is my father and he cares about me. And if I just do this thing, then I'm going to be okay. Yeah. And it's always this, like, struggle for, like, forever. And she's also, like, in the book is realizing her sexuality and also realizing her body. Right. And, like, as, like, young as we were young girls who were noticing our body, there's a point in time where you start to realize that people are looking at you in a way that you're not ready to be looked at yet. Yeah. And you're like super conscious of it. Yeah.
You're trying to, like, cover it. Yeah. I wore sweatshirts giant sweatshirts every day until I was in 7th grade.
Yeah. I wore jeans, like jean pants, like every day, and would even wear it on the beach. I was from Florida, and I would wear like jeans and long sleeves, like almost constantly, and would try to cover my body all the time. And I think there's a scene that's super uncomfortable in It Chapter 1 where she kind of flirts, or not flirts, but she's just like talking to the pharmacist, but she is using
the fact that he is a creep.
Yeah. And it made me really sad to see, because it's like, wow, she is so young and she knows that. Yeah. And the other girls are like, you know, slut shaming her and all this stuff, even though she's never done anything classic, right? And it's out of jealousy, of course, and because she's an easy target. And yeah, so she's dealing with that. And so then we get, you know, Carrie level representation of her issues, which is being a woman, and therefore it is being manifest as blood everywhere, because that's the nightmare that girls face. You know, and then it's like that forever.
And there's just this fear of becoming a woman because that means something very stressful.
Yeah, and that society, it means something to society, and you have no control. Like, you are now just a victim, right? Like, that's why we teach, you know, we tell girls it's what you wear, not let's not teach people that they shouldn't rape, right?
Yeah.
So that's her story. I think she's just great. I think it's a great story. I'm very thankful for the film adaptation, leaving out big parts of the book, like the original Escape, which still to this day makes me just want to shake Stephen King. And I just want to say, why? Don't do that to children. That's not how anyone discovers anything. That's not how anyone gets out of anything.
Copes.
That's
as a child.
Gangbangs for children is not the answer. Stephen King. Also, she is pretty much like a trope. She's like a stereotype in the book. But another thing that they missed in it is that she's like she is really good with the slingshot. She's the one who can like hit. She can actually like hit people.
Yeah.
And so she's like the aim. Like she's got like that talent, and they don't give her anything in this.
Yeah, she throws rocks good.
Everyone was throwing rocks though.
Yeah, but she gets the kid right between the eyes.
Yeah, but
it's like not as slingshotty though. You know, it's not like made a thing.
Yeah, it's not like that's her thing. But no one ever really got their thing. Like they didn't manifest the fact that the children were using their imagination and coping mechanisms to fight it, because like what's the kid that you like with all the
Eddie.
Eddie, he uses his inhaler and sprays it and says that it's acid. He says it's battery acid. And then we have Richie, who uses his jokes
his humor,
that fights it. And so like there's all these things that like they're using to kind of like
they're coping mechanisms for the trauma that they're experiencing as their power.
Yes. Yeah. Which we don't see in here, but it's still good. They're still using stuff. Like they're still actively battling the horrors. We have Mike, who is Black, and he is suffering from racism, or he's a victim of racism in this main town.
Yeah, in both the book and the movie. Yes. Not as, or I guess intensely in the movie than I read was portrayed in the book.
Yeah. In the book, what I think is interesting about the book and why I think this film and the book are so much different from the TV miniseries is I think we're kind of getting a little closer to what it's about, in that it's not about Pennywise. And one of the things is that is that you have a very long book, and it's mostly about how evil Derry is. Yeah. How evil the people are, and how Pennywise just leeches off of already existing evils. And so they have like essentially like one of the first it's kind of like a spin-off of the KKK that existed there that burned down the Black Spot, which was a club for colored people during that time. And Mike's dad in the book has direct abuse from Kevin Bacon lookalike kid.
The police officer.
Yeah, the police officer with the kid who's harassing him. I can't remember his name. They have a whole thing, and
his name is just Kevin Bacon. He wants to dance in the garage, but his dad won't let him.
I forget his name. Oh my god! But I think his dad actually poisons or like kills their dog.
Wow,
it's like a whole thing. There's a lot of like really awful things that happen in this book. Yeah. But I think what's like really interesting is that the book really is more about that. It's about this insidious nature of hate and anger and racism and homophobia and just like all this like people hating people, and it is an alien that's here and has been feeding on that since the beginning of time. Yeah, like that's just what it is. The the lights or whatever, and so we kind of like they give us a little bit of that in giving him the story of like that his family burned in the house, but they never said it was a direct act. Yeah, of hatred and racism, and so I kind of miss that. And yeah, it is way more heavy on him being a person of color during that time, especially because it does take place earlier
in like the 50s, right?
Yeah, so that's like it's way heavier. Whereas 89, we're still pretty. Everything
just like, still sucks, but it's very mildly less suck.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we're a little more,
we're leading into I don't see color time.
Yeah. So like our hatred is like pretend,
which
like
is
we hate
hidden.
everyone equally, so it counts.
No, they hate everybody, but they just pretend they don't in public, and then are awful inside their houses.
Yeah, exactly. So Mike has that to deal with. We have Eddie, who has a mother who suffers by Munchausen by proxy.
Yep.
Who is making him sick or giving him these illnesses so that she can care for him.
Yeah.
Because she has that need.
And also, like, giving him this, like, sense that he has limits.
Yeah.
And he needs to mind those.
And to be in line and be mama's boy.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like, I don't think we see it really in chapter 2, which we're really not going to talk about because it's trash. But in the book, when we see Eddie, he's married to a woman who's pretty much his mom.
Yeah.
She looks like her. She has the same control. She's hysterical and controlling of his, like, life.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what Eddie's dealing with. And that's why his manifests as a person with leprosy.
Yeah, because he doesn't want germs.
Yeah.
I think the saddest thing, so chapter 1 through chapter 2, is that they don't, like, it just, at the end of chapter 1, outside of the weird child incest, I don't say incest, but you know what I'm saying, like, weird sex time, is that, like, they are powerful in the end. Where they use their skills and their talents to defeat this big bad. They use their creativity to fix and cope with their trauma and, like, come out of it feeling okay. And then still grow up like that never happened. And then are just living with the same problems, basically just, like, fulfilling a prophecy of their parents. And, like, that's sad.
Yeah.
Because that's, one, not what's happened to me.
Yeah.
It's not what's happened to you.
Yeah.
So, like, it's possible to get out of that. You learn to cope and you do things. It's like, that's really depressing. I know not everybody, though. Like, there's lots of things that are full circle.
It is also the effect of the town and Pennywise is that as the years went on and they kind of went on their lives, they forgot what had happened. And so it essentially took that victory away from them. Okay. And so it reset them, which is why Bev ends up in an abusive relationship.
Okay.
Which is
that makes a lot more sense because I was like, ew. They should have grown.
They could have, right? And I think if they had finished it instead of, like, having to come back when they were older in 27 years, then they would have. Yeah. It could have been better. But they weren't. And so, yeah. And that's, like, in chapter 2, Jessica Chastain didn't want the abuse to be so large because, I mean, and I agree, like, we have enough abuse on screen of women, and we've seen enough, our fair share of battered women that we get it. Yeah. But there's, like, we should have still seen him come back because he's a main villain. Like, he's one of the tools for Pennywise to chase them. No, her husband. Oh, okay. The same thing with Bill's wife. She comes too. And she looks like Bev. And yeah, there's all these other things that are pretty interesting. Other kids. We have, what's his name? Ben. Who's
new in town. New kid on the block.
And new kid on the block, yeah. Don't you go, girl? Yeah. He is overweight for his age, and so he gets picked on and he's like an easy target. And then later he becomes buff.
And he loves to be, like, smart, and he, like, goes to the library to learn stuff, and he's a history buff and, like, wants to know all the stuff about the town.
And that's the thing too, is that he learns about the history of the town. As someone who's an outsider who's never been here, he comes in and he's like, there's an awful lot of instances where many children die.
Yeah, like, bad stuff happens here,
like,
man.
There was an explosion here. There's a lot of like, we had to shut down the water thing because the kids were just falling into the pool, like, and drowning. Like, what are we doing? And he, like, calls it out. And I think his library scenes are very interesting. And he has those fears manifest. In the first one, right, like, we have, and in the book too, like, some of the monsters are kind of hokey. They're like the teen wolf in the, you know, like the hokey ones that we have seen. But this is like...
yeah, the film does a good job, like, manifesting, like, their specific fears.
Yeah.
You have the Jewish kid. He has the fear of the socks, or, like,
Stanley.
you know, the picture, but I've seen socks of them with the lady's face.
Oh, yeah,
all twisted.
It's a Modigliani. Which is rude, because that's, like, my favorite artist, and...
I would argue he's more scared of becoming a man because he's currently trying to get his bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
And that's in the synagogue where he's there. And I think it's more about that than it is.
They definitely... So here's... And this is what I talked about in the last one. Stanley was my favorite character in the book.
Yeah.
In the film, he's a nothing character.
Yeah.
He has the Modigliani, which doesn't exist in the book. The thing about Stanley that I enjoyed, and why I think the way that they portrayed him in this means that I knew for a guarantee, like, it was guaranteed that we were going to be let down with how he was going to be represented in chapter 2. And what they were going to do the same, painted on, he killed himself, he's too weak and pathetic, we're going to use him against you later. The problem with that is that Stanley was... his character is just so great. He's not terrified of things. Like, they made him out to be this, like, little skinny thing who was, like, afraid of his own shadow.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, he, like, never wants to do anything, right? In the book, he shows up and he's, like, charismatic. He, like, Richie, like, pokes jokes at him because he's Jewish. They're both Jewish. And he says things like, but, like, Stanley's, like, more Jewish, I believe. And they say things. They, like, ask him questions about Judaism, and he kind of makes jokes about it back, like, and kind of embraces that, like, yeah, I'm the Jew. It's funny. But he is a very grounded human. Like, he has the world figured out.
Yeah.
He's like, the world is black and white. Here's what's good. Here's what's bad. Here's what exists. Here's what doesn't exist. And, like, things that go bump in the night aren't real. Like, that is a fictional story. And then you pretend it's not there. Yeah. He is a bird watcher. He's like a little man. Like, honestly,
like a little old man.
I really, really, really loved Stanley. And the thing about it and Pennywise and this whole thing is that confronting that completely broke his mind. Yeah. Because it revealed to him, like, aliens, right? Yeah. And therefore, there are other possibilities. There's a whole other world. There's so much more that we don't know. My whole life is a lie. Yeah. Danger is real. Like, it completely crippled him.
It took him from being like, everything, let's just do. Like, I'm charismatic and fun. We're going to go do stuff. We're going to try things, learn things. Nothing's scary. Yeah. Everything's scary.
And he, like, out of all the other kids, they all have these intense traumas. He didn't really have that. Yeah. He, not to that extent. Like, he just was kind of existing. So it, like, he didn't have those barriers and those defenses that those kids have.
He didn't have resiliency.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah. And so it just, like, it pulled the rug out from under him, and he snapped. And so when he's going through that and he's, like, seeing the big bird, which also I resonated with because I'm afraid of birds, and I was like, Stanley, we need to get out of here. Yeah. This is not a joke. Mike also sees the bird, which is also like, but it uses, like, real things, because the bird is a real thing. Like, it's like a condor or something. Like, it's a real big bird. And he, like, gets trapped in the one of the building things, and Pennywise just, like, comes up to him and knows that he is destroying him mentally, like, knows it. And it's so traumatic. And so when we get to the end of, like, the arc of what's happening in chapter 1, and he's like, I don't want to come here again. He thinks, like, okay, we're done. This is it. I'm making this pact because I want them to leave me alone. And he goes and he lives his life, and he's fine.
Yeah, he's happy.
He's the only one who's living an okay life because he actually didn't have that trauma. He was just roped in with these kids. Yeah. And he had, like, a wife that cared about him. He was living his life. And then he gets that call from Mike who says, it's back. We have to go. It's been 27 years. I know you don't fully remember. And then he does. And he cannot continue on. Yeah. And so him kind of, like, and it's also, like, a power thing because his death actually, like, gives them power in the book. There's like a part of it that helps them, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. And it is like, it is crippling. Because essentially he I think in the film, they say like he knew he couldn't handle it, so he killed himself or whatever. And like, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
They
just described it as he wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
Like that, like there was like the fortune cookies because they met for lunch. And then inside the fortune cookie, it says like, he's not making it.
Yeah. But at the end, there's a letter they find from Stanley. And it's like, it's bullcrap because it totally takes away his power and like what he like. It totally takes away the fact that he was just so at the end. Like there was like, he really couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
He wasn't them. And so I think like, that's one of the characters that really hurts me. And the problem with it is like, just like the book, you really can't show the emotions and the insidious like nature of this town on screen. There's no way. And so that's why they have to just like write him off to be like, oh, he was just afraid of everything. Because how do you show a child breaking like that mentally? Like you can't, right? And because it's just not real. So instead, we're gonna put a scary painting in here. He's afraid of everything. Yeah, he's afraid of growing up and being a man. Cool, check mark, done. And then we got Richie, and he copes with humor.
12-year-old boy.
Yeah, so he does absurd things. He was so great. What a great kid. He's just Finn Wolfhard.
He's just comedy.
yeah. He is just comedy. And then in chapter 2 we find out that he was in love with Eddie,
which I ship so hard. Even like I understand Eddie wasn't like on the same page. Yeah. But I was just like, oh my God, redeemed. Everything he said. I'm just like, oh my God, I see it now. I love. And I do remember in the book him being the most hard hit for when Eddie does die. Spoilers. This is old stuff, guys. And he is the one who's like really hit. But I have to I'm not going to reread it. But if I were, I would look for more. But I didn't catch it. And that's on me. But he copes and he makes jokes. In the book, they're questionable because they're all just like racist. Like, oh no! They're like in the show. He just mentions penises a lot.
Yeah, he's just like a boy. Yeah, he's like an 80s boy. But yeah, in the book, he like uses a lot of accents that are questionable. And that's really where it's like, because he becomes a radio DJ and he's like, like. Richie in the morning, like one of those like fart noises. Yeah. Like whatever. I don't know. He's like that, and he does like voice acting, and so that's his funny thing. Beep beep, Richie. And even his like fear is the Paul Bunyan thing that comes to life. Like that, it's so comical because that's what his life is. Is like he would believe in the absurd. Yeah. I do like that they gave him the fear of clowns. That was
how
fun.
Classic.
Yeah, it was good. It was like, oh, that's why he's a clown. I feel we're not missing any kids, right? That's all the kids.
Bev, Ben,
Bill, Mike, Eddie, Richie. Yeah.
Yes, that's everybody.
Yeah, so that is that. I did it.
I mean, the biggest thing with this, I read some articles. I think it was a New Yorker that was talking about how, you kind of brought up like the history of dairy, but then also like the whole thing is that the reason the adults aren't present or doing it good, it's like they have decided to be complacent with how messed up the world is. They just put the veil on, rose-colored glass. They're just like, the problems are too big. Yeah. I cannot fix it. So we're going to just get used to them. Like kind of how we had in Sorry to Bother You. That was like the whole speech that he gave. Is that like, when the problem was too big and you don't know what to do, you learn to adjust to the problem. And that's kind of like what all the adults did. And Pennywise, in his way of like tweaking, like they're coping with their trauma, was just trying to get them to accept all the messed up things in the world and not fight, not think creatively to fix the problems, and like not kind of band together in a way that kids can. They have
Yeah.
that like energy. They're young. They
Yeah.
have this like creativity that is kind of sucked out of you from capitalism and working and
Yeah.
having to pay bills and just being sad that
They
you don't
also
have money.
have the belief that evil can be beat.
Mhm.
Like, they haven't been so let down and so destroyed by the reality that oftentimes evil wins and that
Mhm.
things are hopeless. Like, they don't have
Yeah.
that. They have, like, okay, if the good guys fight and they use what they got, then they win.
Yeah.
And so kids can do that, and that's why when they come back, they resort to that. Like, they have to keep their youth, and they use the same old things, but they have to believe them, and that's
Mhm.
like a big part of it. It's like they have to remember and they have to believe. Chapter 2 is it's trash. No one should watch it. It's bad. It makes me really sad. I think the only good part about chapter 2 was Bill Hader.
Yeah.
That's it.
I liked Eddie too.
No, I don't like him. I
Really?
only liked Bill Hader.
Mm.
Yeah. James McAvoy, bad.
Mm.
Jessica Chastain, bad. What was Ben doing? I don't know. I
Just
forget.
being hot.
Mike was cool. He was like, I'm in the library.
Yeah, Mike was hot too.
He deserved more though. And
yeah, he
so-
deserved more like character time.
As happens, right? And it's kind of funny that like Mike's thing does end up being racism, right? Because it's like when we did Bedeviled, and all the kids got like, you know, what they got.
Yeah.
Their fears was like a doll,
White
and then
lady
his
fears.
was like, the cops are gonna murder me.
Which is a
For
very real
nothing.
fear.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if anyone wants to hire me, I think a TV miniseries about Derry and how evil it is would be way more scary.
I would
than
agree,
it.
yeah. I think in line with like Lovecraft Country, Watchmen, like kind of how they like took the original thing and like, well, Lovecraft Country, it's the book, but yes.
Yeah.
But like Watchmen, how they took like the original idea and just like focused on a specific segment of that and
Yeah.
like really took it home. I feel like you could do the same thing in a like Derry miniseries.
Yeah. Well, because like there's Castle Rock, which takes stories of Stephen King and makes them into a whole series, but or a season. I think this is different. This is like a story about how evil Derry is, because there's like generations. Like you could just pop like one season we're in this time period where they're doing shady things, and we pop over here, and it's like it's similar to Spiral, which we'll talk about later this year, and like how it's like, what is the new group of people we hate or fear?
Yeah.
And now we're gonna make them victims.
That's 100%, because you have the first in the Derry history, it was black people, and then in the second one, it was like anyone who LGBTQIA.
Yeah, because there's like vicious murder, and I remember watching chapter 2 that we were like, or like you
I
looked
looked at
me.
you and I was like, "Do we leave?
Yeah,
What happens?"
and I mean, I do hate that it was on screen and it was that vicious, and that you picked that when you kind of dropped the ball for the rest of it to be that. It definitely felt edgelord like.
Yeah.
But in the book, it makes sense, and because it fits in with all the other hate. It fits in with like the bigger story is that this town is evil, whereas that was really just like setting up for Bill being gay, or Bill Hader's character being gay, Richie. So
Yeah.
it was weird. I don't I don't condone that it existed there.
Yeah.
But it does exist in the book inappropriately. As you know, as much as a
Fever dream, the book
drug-induced fever dream that was it. There was some semblance of a plot and like a truth.
Well, I feel like Stephen King's whole thing is that the adults in his life have failed him.
Mhm.
Like, adults suck.
Yeah.
Adults always suck. They act like they know what they're doing. They don't. Everyone's dealing with trauma. The world is awful. And when you're a kid and you're growing up and you're finding out that there is this like loss of innocence that takes place.
Yeah.
And there's like, when you're young, like, I'd argue still now, you want to fight those things. You're young enough and you have enough energy and you're like, but then you keep fighting and fighting and fighting and you keep losing or you keep
And then you're
seeing
tired.
loss.
Yeah.
And then like the tiredness kicks in and you're tired for years.
Yeah.
And then you're an adult person. And
Yeah.
then your kids get born and they're like, why don't you care?
Yeah. Are you seeing this?
It's like, yeah, we've been seeing it, we're trying. But yeah, I think it's like the whole thing is like his whole theme is how awful people are. It's in a lot of his books.
Yeah. And I think there's one of my favorite books ever is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. And there is a quote in there. It's very long and I don't remember it. But I remember the beginning of it was like essentially like when you realize how human and flawed your parents are, it's as if the gods have fallen. It's like this, like, because that's where they are. They're like on this pedestal of like, they could do no wrong. They know everything, right? Like they're essentially gods. They're omniscient. They're omnipotent. They're omnipresent. They're omnipotent. Like they're the omnis. They know everything. They're the best people. And when you realize that they are just human and that they make mistakes and that they hurt and that they're tired and that they, don't know everything and they don't have all the answers and that they're gonna hurt you because they're hurting too. It's like totally world shaking, like Stanley's, like reality, like it is like hard to kind of cope in as a child. It's just like you feel like you have been deceived. Yeah, like this whole time I thought you were a god. I thought you knew
that's why I'm
everything,
not deceiving my kids. I'm telling them straight out, right? There's a lot of things wrong with me, and I love you, and we're a team in this. Yeah. But I will mess up, and I will say sorry, and we will do a different thing tomorrow.
That's why I think, like, if your kid asks you something and you don't know the answer, you should say, I don't know the answer. Let's look it up. Yeah. Let's figure it out together. Yeah. I don't know that thing. Let's find out. The power of knowledge. Here's a dictionary. What is that? We have Google. And in the, hypothetical future when we have children, we'll have Google, I think, still.
I think so, yeah, as long as the world's more on fire.
I don't know.
Well, our podcast still exists. Who knows? Who knows? 2021, we'll find out.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, what I really enjoy about this is, one, the kid actors are phenomenal. They do an amazing job. They make me feel things. And the best part of it, chapter 2, was when the kids were there. Yeah. And we got scenes with them. And I was like, oh, they were just such good actors. I was like, oh, we're getting a break from whatever that was for some good acting. Yep. Oh, I'm so excited. And then is that, I feel like it was more true to the story in that it was telling you, instead of just like, I feel like the miniseries was action, action, action. It was like, this happened in the story, this happened in the story.
It was big
this
monster.
Happened, and this happened.
It was about a monster. Mm-hmm. Where the movie and the book were more about, like, the events. People. The kids. Yeah, it's more about people. The kids and their experience.
Yeah, and so I think, like, you see that and you feel that. And that's why people seen it as a coming-of-age story. Yeah. They were like, oh, this isn't, like, jump scare, like, spooky monster all the time. It's actually, like, something that matters. Yeah. Which is great.
I read a Common Sense article that made me mad. Because it was like, when you watch this with your kids, talk to them about bullying. And I was like, there were so many other themes in this movie. All you got was bullying?
I mean, it's
you only saw Kevin Bacon not dancing in a garage. That's all you got out of this whole film. No, not the racism. Yeah. Not the sexual abuse. Not the parental neglect and other abuse. Yeah. We're not talking about strangers. Any of that bullying. Yeah. You don't want Bev to get the trash water on her. Yeah. So you're fine with the blood shower.
Yeah. You're having to murder her father.
You're totally missed the whole point of the entire film, which is bad stuff happens, talk about it, man. Yeah.
Or like even, the kid.
Sorry for shouting.
Kevin Bacon kid. He, like, when we go to his dad, again, we're like, this is a Coraline moment. Hurt people, hurt people. Like, I mean, that's a cliche of, like, what bullies do, but we see it firsthand.
The dad was awful.
He shot at him.
And, like, emasculated him in front of his friends. Like, I don't like masculinity, but, like, he really, like...
He did it on purpose.
He did it to, like, destroy his confidence in front of his friends. Like, you think he's tough. Look at this. Yeah. He's not tough. He's weak or whatever. It was so rude. It was so mean. Yeah. And it's like, no wonder he's angry. Yeah. He's witnessing you be a bad father and violent and awful to everybody, beating him and stuff. But also, you're making him look bad in front of other people.
And clearly, this dad holds masculinity in this, like, man image in a high light, right? Like, because he...
This, like, toxic way.
Yeah. And clearly, this boy sees his father as that and is afraid of his father and
is
so
like
wants
trying
to do
to
that.
be tough, to be whatever his dad wants him to be, and he can't please him.
In the book,
let him dance.
In the book, I don't think I ever felt bad for that kid because he was honestly truly evil. There are really horrific things that happen in that book.
Yeah.
Especially to these kids. Whew.
There's done by him.
Done by him and done by other characters, but he's messed up. He is going through a lot and he really is like imbalanced and does need.
Is he like murdering animals?
He murders animals. He hurts. He is very harmful. He is hurting people. He is endangering lives and taking lives and like sexually abusing people and like he's pretty grotesque as a character. Yeah, and like way more evil the whole time because we get to spend more time with him and yeah. When he goes like when he kind of starts to lose it, even then you're like you don't really feel bad for him ever. And this is just like we did get that cliche of like he's
I mean he did humanize the villain for sure. And you saw that he was just as vulnerable as anybody else in being manipulated by Pennywise because of this like kind of trauma state that he was in from his dad. Yeah, and like having that it was a different kind of I need to kill my dad than Bev's. Yeah, hers was out of necessity. His was Pennywise was like, do it. Because he had snapped too. And by the time he does it in the book, he is really already gone. That kind of felt to me like his dad does that all the time. So it seemed weird to me that now is the time that's the trigger. Yeah, it was an opportunistic thing. He had the knife. He was given the knife. Teeth. I know, the knife was put in the mailbox. Then you have this weird... Which reminded me of a Butterfly Effect. I was just like, oh God, what's in there? But the knife in the mailbox, and then like the TV people were saying creepy like, do things. It, we all float down here. Weird PBS channel in Maine. Gotta tell my mom, don't watch it. Don't watch it. Well, I think that's all I have to say. Yeah, it was fun. I really liked the movie. Yeah. I didn't read the book, but what I've read about the book, other than the bad stuff, sounds like it was trying to say something positive. Yeah, there are parts. There are parts are great. Parts we can skip You win over. Some, you lose some. Yeah. The great T staples would stay. Yeah. So that wraps up October, the spooky month. Next month. Woo! We did it. We survived. We all flew down here. That's good enough for Georgie. Well, next month, you're in for a treat. We are going to be featuring several interviews with some guests from far away, but are near and dear to our heart. And so we hope you get a lot out of it for next month. And also we're going to have some special stuff on Instagram. So make sure you're checking out our social media and just keep track of us. We're doing some stuff. We're trying to get out there. We're doing the thing. Read our articles. I'm sure I posted a link about it. And don't get married. Delete your kids. Yeah. Happy 3 years, Gabe. Yeah, happy 3 years. Love. Love you. Love you too. Like a heart in there. Yeah, don't get married because your kid will be traumatized because of life. Scary face. All right, bye. Bye.